Hello everyone and welcome to In Silence. Today I want to talk to you about knowing nothing. The knower of nothing is the lover of wisdom. In the sleeping world, a world that sleeps in ignorance, you should be the one that is a lover of wisdom. How do you get to wisdom? How do you get to being wise? Usually the answer is, well, you experience. Through experience you get wisdom. But the shortcut to wisdom, the one I'm giving you today, is this. It is to admit to yourself that you know nothing. To be free of ignorance, you have to recognize your own ignorance. Admit that you're living in ignorance. How do we live in ignorance? How do we move from ignorance to knowing, to knowledge, knowing nothing? Well, you see, in every moment, your mind is constantly assuming things. It's assuming things about yourself, it's assuming about others, it's assuming things about the world, events, things, life. It's constantly assuming things. And from these assumptions are born conclusions. So you make conclusions based on assumptions. And yet, these assumptions are made out of ignorance. These conclusions that you come to based on your assumptions are taken in as knowledge. But in reality, it's not knowledge, it's ignorance. So this is the first step in recognizing our ignorance and moving into wisdom, moving into true knowledge. So what does true knowledge look like? What does wisdom look like? See, I know nothing except the fact that I am. The fact that I exist, that is for sure. Everything else is not so sure. But it's not enough to admit that just as a thought for one moment. Well, I know nothing. That's just a thought. But to actually know experientially that what you think you know is nothing but thinking that you know. And what you assume you know, what you assume is nothing but assumptions. And what you conclude is nothing but ignorance. So coming to that state of being where you are merged in the oneness of life, the isness of life, if you will feel that all you know is the fact that you exist. Everything else is nothing but beliefs. You believe in this, you believe in that. And you think your belief is knowledge, your beliefs are knowledge. But they are nothing but beliefs. You're not 100% sure about them. You don't know, you simply believe. I think it was Socrates or Plato that said, for all I know nothing. Something like that. see, the Greek philosophers knew that everything they thought they knew was mere assumptions, mere beliefs. And all that they can know is their being, their existence, the fact that they exist, the fact that they are. Everything else you simply don't know. So I encourage you to come to that consensus in yourself. Observe how you assume things and how you conclude things based on your assumptions. Observe this, how your mind makes assumptions, and then how it comes to conclusions based on assumptions. Observe this in yourself, because that's the only way to transcending ignorance. The way to true knowledge is to be aware of your ignorance. And this doesn't mean that you are the people who don't know are simply evil or yes, ignorance, yes, but they're evil. Or this is not about judging yourself or judging others. This is not to say that, to look at yourself and say, oh, you're such an ignorant piece of whatever. Simply to transcend. What is keeping you back from freedom? See, many people believe ignorance is bliss because they don't want to go beyond their own ignorance, because it means letting go of what they hold on to so dearly. But you don't have to hold on to something so unreal. You don't have to hold on to what's keeping you back from freedom. To be a lover of wisdom, to know nothing. A part of you has to die. And to the ego, to the mind, that seems frightening. But in reality, it is liberating. So sit in silence and through being, admit to yourself, not just in thought, but also through feeling. Admit that I know nothing. I know nothing about myself. I know nothing about others. I know nothing about life. I know nothing about things, people, places, events. I know nothing about the past. I know nothing about the future. All I know is that I am. All I know is that I am here now. And stay with this. Don't just simply have it as a single thought and then move on. Because that means you'll keep living in ignorance. But if you want to wake up, which is what I encourage you to do, stay with this. Don't stray away from this true knowledge. To admit that you don't know is the first step to knowledge. Because then you're open enough to learn, to inquire, to think, to feel, to discover what is beyond the illusions and delusions of the mind and the egoic drama that plays out in your life and in the world. So be brave with this. Don't just think, yeah, I know nothing. But really realize it. All that I think I know, I don't really know. I just think I know these things. And then see how you assume that you know things. Why is this important? Because the world needs wisdom. It doesn't need more mental intelligence. There's enough of that. In fact, there's so much of it. It's being abused. What the world needs is wisdom. What you need in your life is wisdom. To be free, to be peaceful, to be loving, to be joyful, to be the best that you can be. You need wisdom. To grow, to mature, to overcome challenges, to prosper, but most of all to be happy and free. This is what you need. And it starts with recognizing your ignorance and the tendencies of ignorance. It's almost as if you look closely, if you inquire and keep looking and keep being with this, you will see that it's almost as if there are two forces at play. The force of darkness and the force of light. The force of evil and good, you could say that. There's a force in you that's pulling you into darkness, pushing you into darkness. But at the same time, there's a graceful force in you that is pulling you into the light. And which one you honor, which one you pursue, which one you desire, is up to you. The more you're pulled into darkness, the more unhappy you are. The more you suffer. That's the force of the ego, one could say. The force of ignorance. The force that keeps you asleep and unconscious, fearing pain and chasing after pleasure. Judging, condemning, criticizing, analyzing, trying to survive in this world as a body. And yet the force of light brings you happiness, brings you peace, brings you joy. Through being, through awareness, through mindfulness, through presence, through being centered and focused on the present moment, cutting off distractions, not being torn away by the ego and its delusions, and its fantasies, and its hopes and its fears. You can transcend this, and you can be free. I'm wishing you love, peace, and joy. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.